Hollybeck at Floralands. With plants galore and so much more, Hollybeck is the place to be. Sponsors of the Nottinghamshire Garden on Notts TV.
I'm Stuart Dixon, and I believe that gardening is a brilliant way to keep your mind and body healthy. Big or small, gardens can help us all lead happy lives and give back to nature. No one needs specialist knowledge to get started, and you'll never ever stop learning. I've spent my life trying to get the best out of the land, so I've got plenty of tricks of the trade for beginners and more experienced enthusiasts. So join me in my Nottinghamshire garden. Together we can get the city and the county blooming. Welcome to the Nottinghamshire garden with me, Stuart Dixon. Autumn is on its way. The seasons roll: autumn, winter, spring. Spring will soon be here. Do the work now. There's so much work you can do in the garden on planning how you want it to be. Here's what's coming up on the show.
We look at tips for autumn with deadheading and general garden maintenance.
Echinacea, another American prairie type plant, starting to go over now. If you take these off, it will encourage more flower and they start to come like this.
We hear from Danny Crawford at Hollybeck on what we should be planting at this time of the year.
Put them in your planters now. They'll hopefully double in size this winter, and then in spring, when you empty all your planters out, you can pop them in your border. Fantastic structure.
We look at tips for autumn with deadheading and general garden maintenance.
This time of the year, but people often say to me, oh, there's holes in things and they're starting to, it's quite natural. The plant now is going into its rest period. At this time in the garden, things start to go over and do tend to look a bit tatty. Flowers are finishing. You can either leave it like that if you like, or you can deadhead it. Now, the more you deadhead these late summer, autumn flowering ones, the better you are. This is Helenium. Comes from the Americas, from the prairies, which is known as sneezeweed. And you'll see here, there are lots of dead flowers, just in there like that. Take these off. Better with secateurs really. Nip these off, because all the energy now is going into making seed. If you take these off, they'll flower even more. So you can prolong the life of the plant right through, probably until very, very late autumn. If you look at things like this, which is Echinacea, another American prairie type plant, starting to go over now. If you take these off, it will encourage more flower and they start to come like this. Also, you get this happening as well. The flowers never really opened, it's just starting to abort. Trim these off, but don't cut the whole plant down. Leave it until nature takes its course, and then really, really late in the autumn, cut it back. Or I just leave them, let them go. But the more you deadhead, the more you can keep the flowers going. Whole range here of heleniums, reds, yellows, all the things you like. The one here, which is Echinacea, they do tend to droop a little bit like that. That's quite natural for these. And you can see there, just take that off. Or you may wish to leave that, so you've got the spiky seed head, which you can use for flower arranging or decorating the house. These are nearly all deciduous, which means they're going to shed the leaves. This time of the year, but people often say to me, oh, there's holes in things and they're starting to, it's quite natural. The plant now is going into its rest period. So everything is going back down to the roots and they will naturally shed the leaves. As the leaves die back, they're susceptible to being chewed by various insects. Doesn't really matter, they're going to go off anyway. This actually is an evergreen. This is a holly and alex. And there again, you may find things like this taking place there. Don't worry about it. That's caused because it's been rubbing against another leaf there and it's just starting to die back. So they will naturally shed their leaves and new ones will take place. So at the bottom, you're going to find a few dead leaves. Don't worry about it. Evergreens will naturally shed their leaves. Cotinus cogigrea, which is a glorious, glorious purple one, but is deciduous. So another month from now, there'll be absolutely nothing on this. You just get the stems. These, if you're going to buy any of these, look at the ultimate height and spread, because these can get to an enormous height. You may find you want something about that height in the garden, and it gets up to about 8 to 10 feet. You can actually coppice these. You can cut these back, take them down by about 2/3. They'll branch out and you can keep them within the size that you want to be in your garden. But don't worry about things just going over. This is quite natural. Autumn is on its way, and that's quite natural. This is going to happen, and they'll drop off. When it comes to leaves, you can leave them or rake them up. If the leaves are on grass, rake them up, because they'll put a carpet over the grass and can damage the grass, and you've probably got to reseed again. But with the leaves, if you've got any way of composting them, all the better. If you've got a small garden, get them into big black plastic bags, seal them up, leave them, they'll rot down and you'll get leaf mould, which is an ideal fertiliser to use in the garden. These are quite popular at the moment. Quite often you see these in wedding bouquets and in florist arrangements and so forth. This is Eucalyptus gunnii, and hails from Australia. Can be grown here quite successfully, ideally in a warm, sheltered spot. They can suffer quite a bit in the hard frost. You can cut them back, but they usually get going again. With the eucalyptus, just when you buy them, just look at the ultimate height and spread, because this eucalyptus here can get to 20 to 25 feet high with a spread of 8 to 10, maybe 15 feet across. In a small garden with the greatest care, because once a tree is that height, it costs money to have it removed. But what you can do is keep it small like this, and that is keep hard pruning it, cutting it back. They are evergreen, but can be damaged by hard frost. But usually they'll recover quite well. They've got a nice sort of blue bloom to the actual leaf itself. Native Australia, of course, much loved by koala bears, but I don't think you'll be bothered by koala bears in the UK. And of course, they are very, very aromatic. You get a nice eucalyptus smell with these, but worth growing for this nice blue-grey foliage. Autumn's a time for deadheading. A lot of people say to me, what do you do with hydrangeas? When do you deadhead them? When do you cut them back? I don't deadhead them at all. I leave it on. They're going over now, and they will stay like this all through the winter. These are ideal for overwintering bugs that you need in your garden. Lacewings, ladybirds, because they thrive on aphids, greenfly, and they will hibernate in these over the winter. You can cut them off if you like, but I tend to leave them on for that purpose. When you prune back, if you cut a hydrangea right down to the ground, it will survive, it will grow, but you won't get any flowers that year. When it comes back to the time to cut them back, just go back. All these leaves will go because it's deciduous, and the new growth will start at a leaf bud. Take it back 2 or 3, maybe 4, nip it off just before that, and trim it to the size and shape that you want. But never hack into a hydrangea. Hydrangeas have done very, very well this year because the name hydrangea means water vessel, and they've absolutely loved all the rain we've had over this last year. They don't like heat. In the last few days when we had the really, really hot temperatures, they drooped quite badly. So keep them well watered and they'll be with you for years. They will really. Some plants have got unusual names. This one's called Scaredy Cat. It's actually a coleus, you know the coleus, the brightly coloured leaf one, Scoleus canina, and if you do that, it's an absolutely dreadful smell which cats apparently hate. So put it in the garden and it should keep cats away. Scaredy Cat. Alinium, lovely autumn flower, comes from the Americas, grows in the prairies, known as sneezeweed. Anemone huperensis, the windflower. This one's called Phryninicus. The mind boggles. Colchicums, autumn flowering bulbs. This is the flower. The flower comes before the leaves. Common name, naked ladies.
Hollybeck at Floralands, with plants galore and so much more. Hollybeck is the place to be. Sponsors of the Nottinghamshire Garden on Notts TV. Hollybeck at Floralands, with plants galore and so much more. Hollybeck is the place to be. Sponsors of the Nottinghamshire Garden on Notts TV.
When you go to the garden centre, you can easily be overwhelmed by the choice. There's so much to look at, so much to choose from. Ask the staff, they're very, very knowledgeable. I spoke to Danny Crawford, the plant area manager here at Hollybeck, and asked her what's some of the best things for growing in pots and containers.
We have a fantastic selection of plants in at the moment. And to move away from the usual ivy that lots of people go through in their tubs and baskets, we've got some fantastic trailing jasmines, which are evergreen, hardy, will have a scented flower on them in a couple of years' time. And because they're evergreen and hardy, once you finish with them in your tubs and planters, you can then put them in your borders. There'll be a ground cover. You can put them against trellis. They'll eventually climb up. Really interesting foliage. There's, of course, heucheras, which anyone who comes to Hollybeck knows that it's one of our absolute favourite plants. There's a heuchera for every location. The paler ones are fantastic for shade, for any of your shade pots. They are evergreen. They have a flower on them. And then if you've got a really sunny section, then the dark foliage ones really stand out against your white pansies, violas, any of the other autumn, winter pansies and bedding that we have in stock. And we also have lots of small pot shrubs and conifers at this time of year. Put them in your planters now. They'll hopefully double in size this winter. And then in spring, when you empty all your planters out, you can pop them in your border. Fantastic structure, evergreen shrubs. A wonderful plant that starts becoming available at garden centres at this time of year is the wonderful hellebore. The Christmas rose is particularly popular. The traditional white flowered ones, it's the earliest one to flower. This is always a bestseller. And then we move on to the slightly more ornamental, the Harvington hellebores, which come in really interesting peach colours, lime colours and yellows. And then not forgetting the fantastic Orientalis, which is available in doubles in larger pots. But we also have them in our tub and basket range in the smaller ones, in the also very popular dark flowering varieties. And some of them are so dark purple they're almost black. That's a really, really popular one. They do flower more towards spring rather than autumn, but garden centres will have most of them in at this time of year.
When creating your own outside space, you might find inspiration by visiting garden centres
and public gardens, also private gardens. We visit Sue and Bob in Stoke Bardolph to find out what motivates her and how her garden serves her needs. This is an amazing garden, it's full of so much produce. So Sue, can you just tell me a little bit about this garden and just show me around some of the wonderful things you grow?
Well, we decided quite a few years ago to get rid of the lawn, get these raised beds in, which Bob has made from all recycled timber. So nothing has ever gone to waste. We do onions, courgettes, beans, tomatoes, raspberries, all manner of produce. But I do like to put flowers in between so the bees pollinate. You've got your butterflies, your bees, and it does work out really nice, and we do normally get really good produce.
You've got a well-balanced garden here, haven't you?
Yes,
really?
I think we have, yeah. It took a lot of work to get it like this. It's not a pretty garden, but I didn't want it to look like an allotment either, so hence the flowers and the bits in between.
So let's have a look at these courgettes.
Oh, the courgettes.
They're absolutely amazing, they are, really.
Fabulous, aren't they?
Yeah.
They are, they're really fabulous. I think Bob's going to cut one off to show you.
Oh, right. Oh, excellent.
There's one,
Yeah.
there's two,
They're getting bigger.
and I think, there we are, and three.
Oh, they're lovely. Really, really well-grown courgettes these are. You're really proud of these.
Make a nice dinner, won't
Yeah,
they?
they will. Do you find they're really easy to grow?
Oh, they're very easy to grow, yeah, and you get absolute... I think we must have given about 50 away.
Really?
Yeah. You know, they're just... Every day you come out and they're getting bigger and bigger, and so you just pick them, and we can't eat them all, so we just give them away to the neighbours.
You've got some nice runner beans here, Sue. These are look absolutely amazing. Do you grow these yourself from seed? Or?
Yeah, they're grown from seed, yeah.
Yeah.
These are called Lady Di, and they've got white flowers on. A lot
Right.
of the runner beans I've read,
Yeah.
these are white, and they're supposed to be stringless, but I still do.
Still the edge, yeah.
Yeah, and I just put them up this maypole because they just like to climb up
Climate,
it.
yeah.
And I've put the sunflowers in between, obviously to help
Pollinate,
germinate
yeah.
and pollinate everything. And they also look pretty there at the middle of them all,
I also
don't they?
noticed you've got marigolds.
Marigolds,
around.
yeah, that's to keep the green fly away.
Yeah, my grandfather used to do that. He used to grow marigolds in the vegetable garden.
Yeah.
Never any green fly at all.
They're called companion plants,
That's
aren't
right,
they?
yeah.
And
So you don't really need a lot of chemicals.
no,
No.
I don't
And-
put any chemicals on
No,
mine
well, I
at all.
agree with that, because I think anything you're going to eat, it's not good to soak it with
No,
chemicals.
no. The only thing I use is a bit of washing up liquid
Yeah.
in water and spray it.
Yeah,
Um,
that'll get rid of
and
green
that
fly.
gets rid,
yeah.
rid of whatever. But I do like the companion plants in between everything.
But you don't put these out too early, because actually beans are tropical plants.
Are they?
Yeah, they are really. That's why
Oh.
a lot of people buy beans and they put them out too early.
Mm.
So you really got to really wait until the weather's right for them. But once they get going, they're amazing.
Oh yeah,
really.
they love it, don't they?
Yeah.
This place is called our speakeasy.
Is
This
it?
is where we sit and have a cup of coffee and
Coffee in a speakeasy.
and a
Mm.
coffee and a speakeasy, and sometimes we'll have a glass of wine in here, and it's lovely. We just sit here and it's nice.
Yeah. I must confess, it's something nice about this. Nice feel to the place. What are these? Is that courgettes?
No, they're cucumbers.
Oh, they're cucumber.
That's the courgette.
Oh, that's a courgette.
That's the
yeah.
courgette that we've had to go with this morning.
Right.
Pickling it.
Right.
I don't know what it'll be like. No. It's the first time we've done that, but yeah, they're cucumbers, and that's the courgette. And
With chilies in as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the rest of them are onions.
So what's the process of getting from the ground to this
Right. Well,
situation?
Bob pulls all the onions up.
Yeah.
And he trims them, puts them in a bowl with salt, covers them overnight, leaves them for 24 hours, and all the water or liquid comes out of the onion. it's rinsed. He makes a pickling liquor out of malt vinegar, bay leaves, there's chilies in there and all sorts of things, and then just bottles them in the kilner jars. And they'll be ready in 6 weeks
In
to
6
eat.
weeks.
And these have been done a week and a half.
Yeah. So with the onions, do you get the onion sets or do you grow them from seed? Or?
I grow mine from seed.
Oh, that's excellent.
I always have done. I start them in December in my electric propagator, which is in my spare bedroom. And about sort of end of January, beginning of February, and they're up about like that, I then prick them out and put them into big troughs, and then about probably end of April they go into the garden, and hopefully they'll swell out.
Is it your own seed or do you buy the seed?
No, I buy the
buy the
seed.
seed. Yeah.
I buy
yeah,
the seed.
Yeah.
Normally I buy one called exhibition onion,
Right.
which is supposed to be a really large onion.
Yeah.
But you know, this year they haven't.
No, it's not been the weather.
It's not been the weather for them, because a lot of them haven't even swelled out, and the tops haven't even fell
No.
over yet.
But having said that, what you've grown so far, if you can produce something like that,
Yeah,
it's worth it.
Anything that you produce is worth it.
Of course it is.
You know,
Yeah,
it may
definitely.
not be pristine. It won't be like a shop bought onion or a shop bought carrot or anything like that. But anything that you grow,
Yeah.
it's lovely that you've grown it and you're going to eat it yourself.
The tomatoes look really good too, they do really.
Yeah, I'm quite pleased with them up to now,
Yeah.
but as I say, time's getting on a little bit, and if they don't all ripen up, you're going to
Yeah,
end up with
of
a load
course,
of green
yeah,
ones.
yeah.
But it's been an awful year really for
really good.
gardening as I garden.
With this garden, you're not far off being self-sufficient, are you really?
Not really, no. We do try and only grow what we like to
Yeah.
eat. I know that's probably a bit boring. What's the point in growing a load of stuff that you don't eat?
Exactly.
The way I garden probably doesn't suit a lot of people, but it's just...
Gardening's an individual thing though,
Of
isn't
course
it,
it
really?
is, yes. I love my garden, and now I've retired from work, it's nice to spend a lot more time in it. Yeah, every day I come in the garden and do a bit of something.
Yeah.
You know, whether it just be a bit of pruning or digging something up.
It's a great thing to be involved, close to nature, I think.
Oh, it is. It's
Yeah.
lovely, and it does help your well-being, and it does
definitely,
mentally. It
yeah.
helps you,
Yeah.
and you sort of relax. Well, I do
Yeah.
relax when I'm in the garden, and I love it, and I could just spend hours and hours.
Yeah. I think when you're in a garden also, you forget about the world.
You do.
You know, it just...
You do. You've got
Carry
no
on.
troubles, no problems.
No.
You're just there.
So we've been to Hollybeck and we've seen the seeds, we've seen the bulbs, we've seen the plants, and we've seen here the actual produce when it's grown. So it's from seed time to harvest. And the English weather's caught up with it, I'm afraid. But it's been an absolute joy to be in this garden to see what can be done in a relatively small space, really, by growing your own seed, planting it, and getting some wonderful vegetables. So join us next time on the Nottinghamshire Garden, and hopefully we'll get a bit better weather.
Hollybeck at Floralands, with plants galore and so much more. Hollybeck is the place to be. Sponsors of the Nottinghamshire Garden on Notts TV.